You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
Hey, it's Sam Ben-Ruby, and this is The Wine List. The Wine List is a new fast-paced podcast featuring the best-in-class wine guests. Each week, I'll ask our guests 5 questions about their current wine and food preferences. The same 5 questions I've asked everyone from day one on the Grape Nation. Get ready for the most diverse and interesting recommendations to try now. We'll also find out what's going on in our guests' world. This week, we talked to Cha McCoy. Cha does it all, and there's a lot of all here. She's a true entrepreneur with an MBA and a sommelier certification from the Quartermaster Sommeliers. She's an educator, an award-winning writer, event producer, the founder of Communion, her long-standing wine and dinner series, Think with Cha, wine enthusiast, 40 under 40, adjunct professor at Syracuse, retail wine shop owner, but we'll talk about that. She sommed in Portugal. She was a senior editor and wine reviewer at Wine Enthusiast, worked overseeing the beverage deal at the Charleston Wine and Food Festival, to name a few. And now, author. Good title. Cha just published Wine Pairing for the People, The Communion of Wine, Food and Culture from Africa and Beyond, a much-needed book in this wine world today. Welcome to The Wine List, Cha.
Thanks for having me, Sam.
All right, so we're going to jump right into The Wine List, and then we're going to get into the book, which sort of captivated me. I have a bunch of questions. All right, so here's the first question always. What are you drinking now? What's Cha drinking now? What's in your fridge? What's like on the shelves? Well, are you forced to drink certain things either for the book or other events?
Well, the good part for the book part is over.
Yeah,
but,
we'll talk about that.
But there is some wines that's still lingering, from the book. I was at the Loire Valley tasting recently. And so right now what's open is Anjou Blanc in the fridge right now. So. But
do you like that stuff?
Yeah.
Or you like it, you had the tasting, you have some
I love
fun.
Loire. So
what else? The seasons are changing a little. It's getting cooler. You shift or?
It's hard to say how much I love Pinot Noir out loud because I feel like everyone loves Pinot Noir.
Really? Who cares about? No. A lot of people like Pinot Noir, but who cares if everyone likes it?
Every time I find a Pinot Noir that I love, I'm like, I'm falling for it. It's like
So tell me something you've been loving in the last
right now,
1, 2, 3, 4.
For the book, I guess, is also and for events that we're doing soon. Jay Vineyards actually just sent me some Pinot Noir from Jay. I usually have their sparkling, but
they're not known as
for their still ones.
If you think about sparkling, they probably use the Pinot in the sparkling.
Correct.
But they're making a still Pinot.
Correct. So that's what I'm excited. Yes, I'm excited. Yeah. To get into there.
Be honest with me. It's not just good because it may be free. And I don't know if it's free. It's good because it's good, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not done. Like, they sent me different expressions. So I'm super excited to dive into that further.
All right. Anything else?
That's it.
So,
That's it. I mean, champagne's always.
If I surmise here, champagne always, thank you for saying that. Pinot Noir. And you're on a little kick on Loire.
Yeah.
Anjou
always.
And all that.
Yeah.
Good answers. Now, let's talk not about the book, but what are you drinking now in relation to the book? When you were writing the book, I mean, what was going on? I mean, there's a million wines. But
say that again.
There's a million wines.
I think people don't recognize that.
The question is, what are you drinking now during when you were writing the book? How do you answer that?
To be honest, I guess that it was a gift and a curse for all of the jobs I was doing while I was writing a book, right? I'm overwhelmed with the work of writing the book. Right. But at the same time.
Singularly, just writing.
Myself, just writing the book was already my first book.
But the content had to take you to.
Correct. But there was something cool. Like, I kept having, shout out to Layla. She's my co-author. And she's the one, by the way, who was the senior editor of Wine Enthusiast, not me.
Oh, she was?
Yes.
Oh, I screwed up.
No, it's fine. That's a good shout out for Layla.
All right, so we'll mention Layla,
yes.
Because she's an important part of the book, too.
And so she has, obviously, access to wine from her writing world, all the places that she's worked. You know, she got the back cellars of wine.
So she was instrumental in getting physical wine. You had the idea.
We had I'm saying she plays a role in that way, right? Like I'd let her know, like we weren't going to just talk about pairings. We were going to flip pairings on its head. Like even if a dish is known to have Pinot Noir as the pairing, let's not say Pinot Noir 1,000 times. Let's go. We have access. Me and her both single-handedly have access to more varietals and grapes, right? I own a wine shop. People sending me samples all the damn time. Can I curse?
You can.
People sending me samples all the time, whether I love or hate them. It allowed me to let me look more about this grape, right? I lived in Portugal, so you'll see a lot of references of grapes that probably you don't hear often in the pairing book.
Touriga Nacional or Tempranillo, whatever.
Cruzado, one of my favorite whites. You know, I think there's something to say about, and she's in love with Alsace. So I was like, okay, we get to be our full selves in wine in this book because we're not like writing for them, whoever you know, we're not trying to write this book for like the sake of consumerism. We want to educate, you know, and so that means we had the ability to do a little exploration.
So
we have wines from
the wine, but the plan of what wines and the exploration.
I got to a point where I was like, well, the perfect pairing from this is, because I keep picking on Pinot right now, it's Pinot Noir, right? And so you go, okay, well, if we don't want to keep saying that 1,000 times, like what other, let's have fun. Where else can we go? Well, what's another light body, fun, red that we could think of? Okay, we can go Gamay, right? That's typical. People would expect that. Okay, now we said Gamay a couple of times. Now where do we go with the next one? Oh, okay, well, have you ever had Nigramol? Like, what is that? Is it an indigenous grape?
Right.
In, you know, Algarve, Portugal. Oh, really? Okay, let me see if I can get a sample.
Is it from Algarve? That far south?
Yes.
Wow.
Is indigenous to Algarve. So I think that's where the book became fun for us. It was, and especially in my exploration with her, because maybe it's a great, we covered regions in his book, like Morocco. Okay, we gotta
Don't get into that yet. We're going to get into that.
Okay, but in that,
you're staying with the wine list.
Okay, so it's with the wine list, sorry.
Yeah.
But then that allowed me to go find some wines like Moroccan wines.
Right, which is really why the book is so interesting and so wide. Right. You know, people, when you talk wine, and I'll get into questions as to why people aren't talking Moroccan wines, 2 iterations from originally talking about Pinot Noir. Right. So that's what's cool about it. All right, so first question, good. Second question. This, I always say to my guests, this may be, you know, the goofiest or silliest question. I looked at this question and I said, you are the most qualified person I've ever had to answer this question. And the question simply is, what is your favorite wine and food pairing? What's Cha's? Not what you and I think is the best.
Right.
You know, what, and it's probably something you don't eat that often. Maybe you do. But what's that ooh-ah for you?
I'll never say no, never turn down fried chicken and waffles and some champagne. You know, vintage champagne. I mean, even some rosé. I'll take a little rosé champagne.
But even vintage is good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You want the bread.
So
I want it all. I want the brioche all in my glass. And if the Belgian waffle is just perfect, then it all kind of...
Man, I have so much stuff to ask you. So that was what I was going to ask you. You know, many people have said champagne fried chicken. Plenty of people have said champagne pizza. Plenty of people.
I did that, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I get that a lot. Oysters and champagne. How does... And I know it's the combination of 2, but how does champagne work with waffles?
Oh,
because of the biscuity, bready.
Yeah. Don't you love like the nice ginger note on a...
Yeah.
That's why specifically I want to say, like, you know, even if you can't afford like a vintage champagne, then I tell people to go for a Blanc de Blanc because you do want that, like, which the Chardonnay.
Right.
That's what I'm really, you know, craving at that moment.
That's a good point.
I really am looking for that bready note. Not bready, but bready, like bread.
Not bread and mice.
Yes, correct. And that's going to be the perfect pairing. And it reminds me of home, you know, and I go into that as well about the history of chicken and waffles being from Harlem, which is where I'm from.
Did your wine and food pairing, your favorite change because of the book, or it's always been that?
I think I just leaned into it more. I feel like over time, we do have a lot of like fish fries. Like we go, Harlem is known for
Yeah.
a lot of fish places. Fish
Some
and
of those
chips.
markets where you could pick raw fish and they prepare
That
it,
is-
plus restaurants. Very
And,
cool.
Yeah, like this is a thing. Like some of them are open to like 2 a.m. Like people don't know this. This is where when you like, oh, somewhere.
Bring a bottle of champagne
Yeah,
along.
like a midnight snack kind of thing. And people are going to like, I'm like, no, we're going to like full on fish markets and like actually getting the fish prepared however we want. And so you got to have a few wines in your house that's kind of ready
that accommodates
for this
that.
fish moment. And so that usually is some type of sparkling wine or even Riesling. I love
Yeah,
a
that
dry
goes well.
Riesling.
You know, it's funny. Up in that neighborhood, it's kind of a thing. You know,
People don't know this.
everywhere else, it's just, you're
Yeah.
kind of missing out on it. I know about it because I've been to them, and I lived in Jersey, so I'd come down a lot, make it our way.
Yeah.
All right, so good job on that. Champagne, anytime anyone says champagne, I love them. Chicken and waffles. Third question. The question is, what's your favorite wine restaurant and or bar? You've become, through the book and just who you are and what you've been doing, for years, a savvy traveler. So I want you to think, I don't want number 1, 2, 3 or ranked. I want you to think of places that are still memorable to you, that are great wine restaurants, wine bars with food. Certainly I'd love to hear about New York. I'll take anywhere.
Yeah.
Give me a small handful. Is that hard for you, or you can knock some out?
It's hard because I remember the moments and experiences, but the names always kill me. So that's why I always be like, oh, it's just. So the ones easiest I thought about was here. I mean, to be honest, came in at 2 a.m. and I was at 1 last night. So that should be easy.
There you go.
Le Campion, that's downtown. It was 2 great wine professionals' birthdays. So
Was it Flatiron or down on Center Street?
So the Center Street one is my favorite.
Yeah,
that's where
that's
I went.
the original.
Yeah, that's the one I went for my birthday. But for their birthday, they was at Flatiron. So it was a lot more of us of this time. And so
That's a wine bar with good food. Eric Bulliard, the owner, chef, and all that. So you hit it right on the money. Give me a couple more.
And that one was easy because
well,
I'm still surviving from last night.
you're a patron,
yes,
too.
And that makes sense.
Yeah.
In Harlem, Musette.
Spell.
Musette. Yes.
Where is that?
Lenox Avenue. I want to say
teens or 20s? 30s?
Yeah.
Okay.
130.
And why do you bring that up? Good wine, knowledge and service?
Knowledge and service. And they own the wine shop around the corner too. So it actually is pretty cool that you get to have love that. Let me go around the corner and buy it. And it's still supporting small owned, because that effect you normally see in the Whole Foods, right? Like here,
right.
You have the Whole Foods and then the wine shop right next door. So it allows you to have an experience with them. And look, I think that's the smartest way to do it. As a wine store owner in New York State, I'm telling you, if you don't have the opportunity for them to have the experience with the wine because of our liquor laws, they don't. Yeah, if they're not going to buy a Hungarian petnat, on their own naturally,
unless they taste it or
yeah. And if you could they have the moment right next door. So
I've never had a Hungarian petnat.
I had one last night.
I've had a lot of Hungarian wines, a lot of petnats, never Hungarian petnat.
So
okay.
I would say that if you want to come up to Harlem, that's where I'm buzzing around.
Well, I'm glad because you are a resident of the area, so I want you to come up. Anything else come to mind? I won't overpressure.
Clay also.
That's what's her name is the wine person. Is she still there?
Yeah. What's her name? What's her names?
What's her name? She's terrific. Clay is a great place. It's been around for a while.
Clay's a good one. So I just wanted to make sure, because I know a lot of people, all the cool kids live in Brooklyn. So I always love making sure I say places in Harlem. Yeah, come uptown, give them love. And that's where I go if someone's meeting me and they want to come in my area. I could not escape thinking about some of my favorite moments living in Portugal. So that's why I was like, okay, let me go back into the Rolodex, especially because I appreciate your question for me being able to think about my travels and my life abroad. So when I lived in Lisbon, I would say Belcantro is like the go-to restaurant, and they wine bar is sick too. So you definitely want to check that out. There were a few wine bars that I frequent just to chill. I'm going to be honest. I am more low intervention, natural wine.
Me too.
Casually, that's how I drink.
It doesn't have to be natural. It's
Yeah.
thoughtful producers who practice low intervention in the cellar. Stop me if you don't agree.
I agree.
And in the vineyards, they're really, kind of practicing a way where they'd let their kids run around
Exactly.
in the vineyards.
Exactly.
If you're spraying, they ain't running.
So Vino Vero is the wine bar that is in a small neighborhood. Now I feel like it's more trendy in Lisbon, Portugal. And it is the second location to the owners who came from Venice, Italy. So they actually have
Cool.
two. So when I'm in Venice or I'm a Prosecco educator. So when I'm going for Prosecco work, I always make sure I go stop by the Vino Vero in Venice. But the one that I end up being very close with are the owners who are based in Portugal.
Did you ever spend time in Alentejo?
Yes. I actually did harvest there.
You did?
And it was, I had to start at 4 a.m.
I was there. I thought it was
hot.
fabulous.
Hot.
Yeah, I could see how it's
we had to
hot.
start at 4 a.m.
Anything else you want to throw in on there?
Yeah, I mean, those are the ones where I was like,
All
okay.
right, let's leave it at that. I didn't mention I post these.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm not sitting in a room on 100th Street in Manhattan with you just so this goes into the ether.
Yo,
the
good.
whole idea of the list is to
for
get
us
the
to
right
have-
people and to share it.
Well, good.
All right, here's the fourth question. This is a fun one. So the question was originally structured, what's your favorite all-time wine? I was kind of shooting around for like, Cha's kind of out there and, she's exposed to, what's the rarest, most expensive wine you ever had? I don't care about that anymore. Here's what I care about. What's the wine to this day that's had the biggest impact on your career or how you think about wine or what moved you?
Yeah.
Can you think of a wine and a time?
So,
and again, it doesn't have to be rare, but
I appreciate the question and how you phrase it, to be honest, because everyone thinks because you're a sommelier, they're like, what was the bottle that did it, whatever. And I'm always like, I'm anti that question, just to be honest. But for some reason, the way you asked it was very much like, okay, but what do I feel like was impactful for me? Now, all these folks, sorry to y'all. They all could have been asking the same thing, but it wasn't translating that way to me. I eventually recognized that this question, when you say you're a sommelier, is everybody's favorite. You know why? Because they think you drank a bottle and all of a sudden everybody said, yes, I am going to be a somm. And that didn't happen for me. I moved to Italy, right? And so the impact was me being so immersed in the culture of like Italians, being a New Yorker who truly had a father who, just loved being a New Yorker. That means you loved Italians. That means you loved Dominicans. You loved everybody.
The whole thing.
This wasn't, we were our own breed, just being New Yorkers alone. And so we respectfully inherited the things that we loved about different cultures as well. So I will definitely say, first, moving to Italy put me on the wine because it taught me how to appreciate it.
So
I didn't have an appreciation for wine until I moved there, came back, and wanted
What
to
year
be
was
a
that?
part. That was 2010 is when I moved to Italy.
Okay, so this is pointing towards an Italian wine, right?
No, actually. Oh, now
Come on, let's go.
But I will say that the wine, when I was working, my first wine job was a wine shop in Harlem called The Winery, which is still open. That I start understanding my own palate, my preference, was Nicolas Joly. I had an amazing look back to Loire. Actually, I didn't do that on purpose. So.
He's a master of the Loire.
But I did not
highly
know
respected
what low intervention wine was. So,
well, no, you kind of had a pure thing towards it because you didn't know all the shtick.
I didn't.
That
I didn't know
Jolie
who he
was a
was.
bit of a personality. The Loire is one of the original, low intervention organic
Didn't know
regions, natural and right.
I was working in
So
one
that
shop.
resonated with you purely.
I had like an aged and loved it to death.
So it had a little age. It wasn't
it was so good. And then because I remember seeing it like it was white wine that looked brown. It was always like crazy. And here's my manager, Eric. He's like, okay, remember it was my birthday. So they got, I don't even know what year it was. So an older version than the one I had before for me for my birthday. And I was like, I was like, oh, now I'm a collector. I got this one bottle. I was like super excited about it. So I would say that wine had an impact on me. And now it explains my palate when someone else may say, oh, this is a little bit too tart. Everybody has different tolerance for things.
It still kind of stays with you, that wine, when you think about other things.
When I talk to non-drinkers, when I talk to my students at the university, right? They just turned 21. This is their first time thinking intellectually about wine. And they feel like it's over their head. These are people that are studying physics and all types of things. I'm like, okay, you can do this, all right?
Yeah.
So let's lock in. Let's stop just, I'm like, no one told you why you, like, if I put Pepsi and Coke, no one was a soda sommelier and told you, you need to go with this one, it's better. You made that adjustment on your own. Your palate chose one, or maybe you're from a state that has a lot more Pepsi or Coke. Like that's
right.
Like people
that's what
Atlanta,
influences you.
Like so, this is culture now. So I started showing them that whether it's Seagram's or Canada Dry has a lot to do way more than because you went to Syracuse University and wherever you see the banners, there's more influences than you think.
I was going to say, what influences people are all those aspects.
Because now you're like a Coca-Cola drinker for life. Whenever you I can't drink Pepsi. None of these people are paying you, but for some reason you have like brand loyalty to one of these sodas. But when we talk about wine, everyone feels like they don't have the sophistication and make this. All you need is a palate and for you to learn it, right? Just kind of understand it. And I
think you have to tell people that.
You have to give them permission.
You have to reinforce it, and you have to remind them.
In America.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get into that. Let's finish the wine list. This in question 2, what's your favorite word? This is in your wheelhouse too, and you better not screw this up. So the 5th question is, recommend to me the best wine around 15, 20, 22, 25 retail.
Oh, thank you for raising me.
I had to. I'm being transparent here. I have kids in my kids are in their late 20s and early 30s, and they're all working, and they've become more sophisticated, and they know I'm into wine, but they're all on their own now. So I asked this question to feed them from the experts. Here's what you should be buying. Okay. So in that price cat, what's the best value for a red and a white? And I always say this, like, to me, Muscadet from a guy like Pepier, that region, that wine, that producer, for 20 plus is a great. So you could do category, you could do maker or whatever. You could say Loire Cab Franc. I don't know if it's 25, but give me some answers. Give me a red and a white. You can go multiples on it. It is pretty good. And it's not expensive.
It's not expensive.
All right, so we'll throw that in.
Yeah, why not? I'm definitely I didn't realize I'm more into geography than I thought.
From this book you are.
And let's just say who I am in wine definitely showed up in this book for sure. So regions is a best way for me to think, right? So go to Chile, right? Mentally, go to the Chilean section of your...
100% agree. There. This region, Maule, M-A-U-L-E, and Chile is...
Lean into Chile.
And would you agree with me that it leans a little more to this answer, to reds, or not necessarily?
I mean, I would say that, especially because I've seen the uptick at my shop in like how much people love Sauvignon Blanc. I think I would have never known that. I didn't know the average person. I don't know what happened. How as much as
I'm surprised to hear that from you.
What the way? I mean, I love Sauvignon Blanc. So
well, you said that in the book early on. That was like your first fave.
I didn't. But that goes back to what was my favorite drink that was non-alcoholic, which is lemonade. Like, you got to understand your palate early, I love tart, sour.
But there was a little sugar in it, so there was tart with a little sweet, right?
What do you mean? Lemonade, you said?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But I'll do an Arnold Palmer today. I'll crush, you can put no sugar. Just give me a good Arnold Palmer and I'm great. But when people start understanding their palate, then they know how to choose their wine. So that's why I want them to really think first about.
We'll talk about that in a minute because I love that taste wheel and everything. So I'm going to go with Chile.
And I'm going to go with, I could say Cabernet Sauvignon from Chile gets slept on a lot.
They make some good stuff there.
Yeah. I will also say South Africa. I feel like
good for whites there too. Everything.
Yeah. I mean, I love being able to bring up South Africa.
Do you have a producer?
Aslina, I talk about
that makes wines in that price range.
Yes, Aslina.
Spell
Aslina.
Aslina is making wines in South Africa.
Around 25, I sold her Chardonnay.
See, that's why I do this. I don't know if I ever
25.
heard of Aslina.
Oh yeah,
And
I mean
I
her
love
story was unique to she. I'm gonna forget who she worked for. Aslina is the grandmother's name, but her name is Nziki, and she's the wine producer and the owner of the label. The distributor for all of the wine professionals is for wines for the world.
Oh,
if you
nice.
want to find her, if you actually want to order
Nice.
them. Her story resonated. I would say even you asked about the when I said Nicholas Jolie, I would say secondly when I learned about her story in South Africa, coming from Zulu and going to the University of Stellenbosch and learning about winemaking, and then getting a job as the head winemaker of this very prominent,
restaurant.
prominent winemaker for a prominent producer, yes,
right.
in Stellenbosch. And she was just I guess doing her job. Got a scholarship, went on, had a building life for herself. I don't know if at the time she knew she was changing.
Right.
There's people who have money and she worked her way up to this position, got it, and actually now has her own wine. I think that she's one of the best winemakers in South Africa. Her wines is now more widely available because of distribution.
Aslina.
I
gotta. That's why I do this.
her Chardonnays.
I'm going home after this podcast.
Skin contact Chenin.
Oof. Those are good words together. All right. So that's Cha's wine list. As I mentioned, I'm going to post the answers. I asked Cha to spell things out to make sure we put the right stuff down. I want to see what's going on in your world a little. And a lot of this, most of it relates to the book, but there's a couple things. So you mentioned in the book you didn't grow up around wine, not in the family or whatever. I also saw that you were on the job on construction sites as a civil engineer, which is not what you're doing now. I'm curious about that time and why. Where was that pivot to wine? And was it clean, like I quit and I'm doing this, or are you morphed into it?
Yeah, definitely had a double life. I'll never forget when they were writing an article about me because I just got an award in engineering.
Wow.
And so they were, the company, the marketing department, we want to write an article. We looked you up and we see this thing you're doing in wine. I was like, I think I got to start rapping. I knew at that moment.
So on the civil engineer thing, their angle to them for you was wine.
No. They didn't even know. They were Googling me, just like, we tried to the marketing department. It was like just doing research, and they were about to write a bio up for me for the award and recognition that I was getting. And on their own, they just Googled, and they seen that I was, at this point, I already got an award or something in bar. Someone wrote an article about my wine dinners. And so they were like, they were confused. Because they didn't know anything about me and wine, which was funny.
So it sounds like you're skipping something.
Yeah, for sure.
But listen to me. I don't mean to say listen to me. What I'm curious about is, so you're working the job as a civil engineer, and during that you get the communion thing started?
Yeah.
So the question...
I heard the question. I was just giving you a moment
All right, forgive me. So the question was, how did you get to the communion?
I was getting there.
Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I was letting you know that even at one point, my worlds clash is what I was trying to give you an example of. So yeah, I was working as an engineer, straight out of college, went to Syracuse University, and
studied engineering.
Got a degree in civil engineering. Years later, I was not loving it, and I guess I felt like my life got too serious too fast. I'm a civil engineer, and I'm checking all these boxes. I guess my parents would say I'm successful already, and I wasn't even 25 yet.
But who wants to be a civil engineer or an accountant? Good jobs, right? You got to be smart.
I think your parents want you to be
right, but not what's rolling around in your heart.
I'm like, bro, I got a lot more living to do. I hope this is not the rest of my life, is what I realized. And so that's when I actually decided to do my MBA and move to Rome, Italy to complete it. So that allowed me to take kind of like a life break at the same time. I'm like, I'm still super young. I should go like have fun. So I quit my job.
The Italy thing was a big wine
but
thing
it wasn't
for you.
about full wine. I just
No. But I could see you got yourself there, and then
yes. So at least that was the first time where I paused and allowed myself to kind of like have a break from the, as they say, the hamster wheel, the goal climbing, and kind of reevaluated kind of how I wanted the rest of my life to, at least the next chapter to be, right? I already checked all the things my parents wanted me to do. Went to college, got a good job, check. And so that's when I started getting super excited about all the things that you would find in Italy, right? Pasta, cheese, art, travel, and wine. And so when I returned back to the States, I was very much like, okay, well, missing the part of the culture that I loved, like my lifestyle out there, having a lot of FOMO, probably getting even slightly depressed, like, okay, I'm back here, but it does not feel the same. How do I have even a slight bit of, something that feels like when I lived there? And so I actually started working in a wine shop that I mentioned, the winery on 116th and 8th Avenue.
So that at that time,
was
with
my
everything
first
rolling
wine shop.
around in your head, said, "Let me get closer to this. If
Yeah.
I work here."
Yeah, I spoke
So that was
a little
a
bit
big-
of Italian, and now I can speak to the Italian producers who will come in, distributors who were Italian came in. I was able to practice, so it was exciting for me to be able to.
So it
connect
lived
with
up
them.
to the hype, being around wine and learning and
Yeah.
all that.
It was
a good
good.
experience.
Yeah, it was great. And
When-
that kind of kicked me off into like doing it part-time. Now I'm back in America. I can't afford anything. And I'm working part-time at a wine shop making minimum wage. So I still had to go back to doing some type of corporate work again to pay my bills and make a living. And then I still, if you want to say on the side, worked in wine. So that was weekends and nights. So I was just a close.
So you were
store.
pragmatic by way of juggling.
Correct.
But at that point, were you like, I'm moving forward, I'll be in
No.
wine? You weren't sure.
No, I was doing it for fun.
Okay.
I was
you
doing it
didn't
for the
realize
discount.
it was.
Yeah, I got a discount.
When did the idea of making wine accessible and inclusive and for everyone,
When I was in the shop, I didn't really know that
the
people-
shop kind of,
Yeah, I didn't realize people didn't. What happened was when I was living in Italy, everybody drank wine. The
Right.
janitor,
culturally,
the rich guy,
a
the
little
poor
juice
guy.
glass on the table, you know.
No one's talking about, oh, have you had this? The vintages. I mean, I'm sure people were doing that somewhere, but that didn't stop everyone else. If you were middle class or low income, everyone still drank wine. So when I came to the
Wasn't
shop,
happening here.
that wasn't the same.
That's a great point. It's so obvious, but the way you experienced and then you come back.
Yeah, you're like,
and
why-
by the way, and
why is everybody-
I don't want to put my foot in my mouth, but like Harlem is not like the wine center, you know? It should be. And my next question leads to that because I want you to dispel a lot of things for me. So the trip to you, the time in Italy really kind of, flesh that out. That's interesting. So let me lead into this. There's been a long history in wine of gatekeeping and what you talk about in the book as Eurocentricity, which is wine has been dominated by certain people and certain places and certain ideals and all that. This book is a departure from all those norms. You're basically saying, I drink wine, I live wine, I eat, but I view wine this way. Do you agree that it's a departure from, the old norms, the way people still think about it, unfortunately, but always did?
And I think that's what I recognize. I'm a Christian, so I ask God, like, why have I gone all these places? Like, why? That's before the book. It's like, why, people get jobs at sommeliers, they stay there. Like, there must be, like, what's the purpose? Why am I bouncing around the world doing so much?
Right.
But yet I'm not getting where I'm sure the journey that I've been on with wine since 2012 has led me to something, right? It's a decade later or so. Like, how are we getting here?
So you had the passion, you put the time and the interest, you were diverse in the sense that you
Spending
were
my own money
you were
to
global.
travel. No one was flying me out to space. Today they fly me.
But there was something going on there that didn't work for what you wanted it.
I just didn't know why it wasn't clicking. It was hard for me to get a job as a sommelier.
So the question is, why didn't it click, or why wasn't it clicking?
I don't know. That's why I asked. I was like, what's the story? Why am I here? I'm supposed to be doing something in this industry, because if not, then let me go back to engineering. So I started really questioning everything as well right before I even thought of the concept for this book, to be honest. And so back to your question about Eurocentrism, then all the pieces came together. Like every little part of my journey, from spending time, as you saw in the book, in Chile, understanding the history between the dictatorships between different countries, why colonization why flavors, people were transported, slave labor, et cetera, but also spices and obviously beverages, whether it was rum or wine, all of this is part of the much larger story. So that's why I feel like the way we teach about wine, and obviously as a wine instructor, I have also been teaching about wine in this way, has always been through this gaze, right? We've now created transnationalism, and now we're perpetuating it the way we keep doing the normal certifications.
Right.
Who is going to stop and say, hey, is there another way to think about this? Why are we not talking about wine the same way we should be teaching like world history? Why are we not? Because that's why certain countries are more of a focus, even though they didn't start wine, right? That's why some folks don't even know that Georgia make wine,
right?
And that Georgia's even a country,
right?
So it's because
the deepest history in wine,
exactly. But you would think, if certain wines, certain wine regions, as you know, kind of claim their importance due to heritage, legacy. So if there are regions before them that actually were making wine, wouldn't that country or region be more important? Israel, Georgia.
Good point.
I went to Ukraine and spent time there as well, in the wine country. And let's say, a year later, the vineyards that I was on was invaded by Russia. I've been able to actually have so much time traveling and finally recognize my purpose in wine, and my voice in wine, lent more to how do we actually talk about these unrepresented people, unrepresented regions, so that people can actually know there's more to wine than the 10 grapes we've been saying all the time, more to wine than the same maybe 5 countries we say all the time. And that is where the Eurocentrism of it all, how do we do our part, is by actually, whether you're a sommelier, a podcaster, a writer, we have to be the ones to vocally talk about, let's stop propping up the same regions all the time, the same producers. And you can't say you didn't have a great wine we talked even before we started recording about wines from Hungary. I'm sure you enjoyed wines from Hungary before.
Sure.
You don't hear often people talking about, that ferment was amazing with that dish.
No.
So, and it doesn't have to be sweet, as you know. I'm sure you've had just dry.
Or whatever,
Yeah. So I feel like that's
there's actually there's a Hungarian wine tasting in New York with a lot of people coming in. First time, we know there's Italian and producers.
Correct.
And, so they're starting to get there, whatever.
Because they feel like there's an appetite finally for them to kind of
and the quality is there, and they've been doing it for a long time. Now, what you've been talking about basically is the premise of the book.
Correct.
Getting away from Eurocentricity and saying, wait a second, there's different regions, wines, food, and all of that. And to your credit, you don't talk just about wine. If it's about beer or rum or whatever, you'll get into all of that. So let's get into the book now. I think you explained and described that, and I think that's a good entree when we talk about the book, how you kind of walk that walk, This caught me early on, and I'm like, how could I not ask you about it? There's the old wine phrase, what grows together goes together. Tell me what people think it ultimately means, but it don't mean that to you. So just respond to that and how you approached it.
Yeah. I'd also like to say, I agree. What grows together does go together.
Yeah.
So this book is not the anti of that belief.
Right.
I just
fair to clear that up.
Is and
right, comma, not
and,
period.
Correct.
Right.
And I feel like that is important when people look at the book. Is there are other connectors besides the fact that this cheese, this dish is from the same region,
like Comte and Jura or whatever.
Right,
is
right,
that
right.
the same place?
Yeah. Is it
Yeah.
so? Therefore, the wine it makes sense. But then it's like, oh, okay. If I'll take a, let's say, anthropologist approach to then if that culture was also relocated to another region in the world and brought things with them, does that now mean there's the history connects, even as brutal as we can talked about enslaved people, etc. There is cultural connections to other places. So if I see a Senegalese dish and see nuances of it in a French dish, vice versa, does that mean that this French wine can now like I started questioning the larger theory of what grows together goes together.
Right. Very
because
wide.
You start going, oh, okay, well then if that's the case, and if that country colonized these places and those spices were along these ships, etc., then we can have a conversation at large. And then if you even want to turn it into modern day, today, some of the strongest trades for wine still exist between some of the colonies, the ex-colonies from those countries. So you'll see a lot of Portuguese wines on a wine list in Brazil because of that. They understand the language. They don't need anybody. I don't know how to read this.
Right.
That's what happens when you bring Portuguese
Big
wines
connection.
to America. People are like, I can't, they only do well in places where Portuguese folks have lived for years, Rhode Island, Boston area.
Communities.
Right? That's where the communities are. And then where folks that are from the colonies from those countries too. So that's where you see an uptick in Portuguese wines. In that case, it can be Brazil itself, or let's just say Little Brazil here in Manhattan. So you start recognizing that, oh, okay, then this is now beyond, right? We're not talking about how those wines got here. Now people are choosing those wines to still be in those countries because they love wine. And those areas want to still have those same dishes, and still the spices are now, I don't want to say acclimated, but they are part of their palate of having those particular grapes. They understand that grape, Castelao and Trincadero. Like that's not odd to them. That's part of their language.
Part of their language and their culture. Because it was funny, when you and I were talking, you're like, don't be asking me about some pairing of a wine you never heard of in food. I wrote the book a year ago. I said, that's not why I want to talk to you. And what you just said kind of opens up to, how diverse and how wide, wine, food. The book to me, and it's a cookbook, it's a wine book, it's a wine pairing book. More importantly, to me, it's sort of historical and very cultural. And that's what you've been talking about. And I think that's the difference between, this book and a lot of other things. All right. So I need you to just, before we get into the content, I think it's important because I think it'll entice people to talk about the structure and layout of the book. There's a setup in this book that offers a lot of different information on all these different, areas we've been talking about. I'll compliment you because, I don't know, the first 7-8 pages describing wine is, to me, the greatest mini masterclass. Oh. You nailed all the important stuff right away. I'm like, don't go out and get a whole book, read Shah's, sort of intro and all that. And by the way, you put in a what's the wheel called?
Flavor wheel.
A flavor wheel where people go, this tea, what it, so that helps and all that. But there's the intro and all that. And then you just sort of jump right into the countries and the regions and all of that. How's the book set up? There's like 3 or 4 things that you always discuss in each chapter. Just give me the setup, not the content first.
Well, if you don't mind me starting with, that probably was the hardest part of the project.
How to structure?
Because I was going off of nothing. I had no reference. I knew what I wanted to talk about, but there was, if someone's writing a Psalm was writing a wine pairing book, then you can go to another wine pairing book and go see like this.
That wasn't the objective.
Right. So I told him, okay, if I want to include history and talk about
population, yeah.
I was like, well, I don't know what book to go to as a reference or a guide. So now I just want to throw that out there, is that there's probably like 4 iterations of how I want this set up.
Getting to
what I finally landed on, which is in the book. So,
but isn't this stuff floating in your head? Don't you want to talk? Yeah, don't you? I want to talk about this. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about this. How do I structure it? That was the challenge. Right?
That's what I'm talking about.
All right. So how'd you get there?
I've, just trial and error. And thank you, Layla, again, for your patience. Because I'm sure we started the book out 3 different ways before I got to here. So that means there were chapters written in the other format before I actually came up with the one that you see here. I didn't realize how much of a challenge that was. And then, you know why? Because I eventually got to a new region or a new country. And then I said, oh, wait a minute. This doesn't work for this country. So we got to go back and reiterate something that we did in Africa. So
what felt good for something didn't work. So you...
Exactly. Scratch it, start over.
Make it work for everybody.
Yes. So I wanted it to really tap into what is going to be, I'm one of those kids who grew up on Britannica. The
hard copies, not online.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, shout outs to millennials who
were
parents
like this long,
them
right?
Every letter.
I love those.
I mean, so then each encyclopedia you flip to whatever, it go, okay, this is the setup. So my brain had to start.
So that was an inspiration.
Yeah, Britannica would be like a kid with, my, I guess, formative years as a student was very much like, this has to be some type of encyclopedia. How do we actually, even the coloring of each region?
It has that feel. So tick off to me 2 or 3 things that are in every chapter.
We do start with like population. If it was who the old, like what's the region? I think it's important for people to know what is its like agricultural, like the products that, naturally grow there. You can see how that may influence, again, maybe what they eat and or what they drink.
Right.
So that's always important. And then the travel monologue, which is like the important part.
The kickoff, the beginning of each?
No. I mean, when you go into the country. So sorry. So each region has its own like intro, but we're just giving you like big, like getting you ready for Africa or getting ready for Latin America. But when you're inside those, starting with Cuba or something, there is type of me, kind of bringing you a sense of place. You go on this journey with me to the place, especially if it's a place that I've actually spent time.
I was going to say, the places you visited, you make people feel like you're there.
That was the intention. I wanted to give people cultural tour.
And then there's recommendations. I don't know if that's the right word. But
yes. Yeah.
There's recipes. You talk about recipes. Africa. I don't know if I'm pronouncing like jollof rice. You have to have a recipe for that. So and then the discussion of wine and the history of the rice and all that. So there's the recipes. Then there's
in each section is a
varietal
recipe.
Select. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's definitely a recipe, a dish from a chef that's an expert or either their cultural background from this. And then there is a sprinkle of cocktails as well, which I think people wouldn't expect. But I also knew that there's no way we could talk about rum and whiskey from Japan, et cetera, without throwing in. I mean, I have the good fortune of being in this industry to know enough of these people to truly say, hey, I would appreciate you. I want to give a shout out to you and homage to your work and your heritage. And they were more than happy to give a cocktail recipe as well. So shout out to all of them. So there's 25 recipes in total, including the cocktails and food recipes. And that was important for me.
Was it hard to get to 25? I mean, a lot of them are obvious. I mean, did you work to get up to 25? Did you have 50 and cut it down? I mean,
it was once I figured out what was going to be like the final regions, I just knew where I needed them to be placed.
Right.
And so it was just kind of like who was the best person, the best expert, who can really check that box.
And then
a lot of, I guess I like say hidden gems. That was the part about the book I love the most is when I was able to break the standard. So when you see in Cuba wine pairings with cigars, which is clearly not in every chapter, right?
No, because Cuba's the most famous for cigars,
right,
and
right.
this is part of their being and culture.
Correct.
Let me tell you what pairs well with that.
Yeah, so then that's random. Or even for Puerto Rico, me talking about me driving around the entire island and having mofongo everywhere, and then just doing a
That's
spin
their
off
thing.
of that, right? So
Mofongo, pernil, all that stuff.
yeah, so just throwing like little fun moments like that within the book that was not in every chapter, but it was something that sparked joy in me, my taco trail. I have a good friend that lives in DF, and so I, spent so much time just eating tacos, and watching them order tacos in Mexico is a different type of experience than you would have in America. I don't care if you're in California or Texas. It's nothing like being in actual DF.
That's where they were born. That's,
Yeah.
There's a difference,
moments,
You were talking a little about it before, and one of the patterns I'm picking up with you is, where you spent time by choice, like in Italy, had big influences on you. There's a section about Latin America, and you were talking a little about Chile before, but what you didn't mention was that didn't you live there for a little while?
Yes.
But didn't that have an influence? I think you recommended Chilean wines because you really got to know them.
Yeah.
Beyond why did you go there? And Italy had an impact. What did Chile have impact-wise on you?
It was a coin toss between South Africa and Chile at that time.
Two totally different.
Maybe the year was 2016, if I can recall. And again, these is all Cha-sponsored trips. No one was paying for me to go to these places. I was no one in wine for them to send me for free or anything. So this is why I still had to keep my day job as the engineer.
Wow. And you still were motivated on your own dime to get yourself.
Yeah, all of these trips. I don't know. All the trips that's probably mostly in the book are ones that I funded earlier in my career. And I would say that when I was there, making that decision to choose Chile, back to your question, it came when I say coin toss, it's because South Africa has my heart. Like I've been there, I want to always, but it's so far away. And so I just was like, I do recognize I wanted to understand more cultures that were not my own. When you become inquisitive about different cultures, I'm like, I don't know anybody that know about Chilean culture. Maybe they've tried some wine, but I don't know if anybody can tell me what's a famous Chilean dish. What do you do when you're in Chile? What do they do? And that's a big part for me of understanding about the wine. Understanding their lifestyle, the way they eat.
The wine is wrapped around the culture, the food, the agriculture. And if you're there, you live it. Going
back to what grows together goes together, then even in this case, if I want to understand Chilean wine, I understand what's going on in the homeland, right? And so South Africa had enough. I'm sure they both can use some help, but they had a lot of people that was doing those type of trips and doing that type of research already. And I'm one of those people that's like, okay, take me to the unknown. And so I chose Chile. And so that was a good call. I left maybe the Monday after Thanksgiving. And yet returned in January. So I spent basically throughout the holiday season.
Good instinct on that, and balls, to kind of, pick a place. Now,
and then trust me, I can tell you right now, my Spanish don't work. Listen, trust me, there is a lot.
As an old white Jewish guy, I always have trouble asking this question, but when you talk about self-funding your own trips and going back over 10 years, a decade ago, did any of this have to do with being a woman, being black?
I'm sure.
I mean,
I just didn't want any of
it goes back to the Eurocentricity thing, which all the wine organizations were pretty, the quartermaster sommeliers went through a change. Did you feel that, or you just didn't waste your time thinking about it?
I think you're a New Yorker.
Born in the Bronx.
So I think there is something about we hustle to get what we want, right?
Like no one else.
So I don't think that even if that was the reason, I'm still going to get it. Like that was the mindset.
I know that.
So yeah.
But that's why I asked you to come on and you've bared that out. The question was more, did you feel it? I know you had the skills to overcome.
Yes, but
Despite.
Yeah.
So all good despite that.
I would say I wasn't thinking about it, and I was like, it didn't at that time. I guess when I felt it for real is when I came back and had all these experiences and I still couldn't get a job.
Right. I don't know if we were talking off air or on air, but it was like, look at this body of work and people are just no interest. That's a little telling. So
that was later on. Like this wasn't yet. So I thought I was still primed, so maybe that's the reason why I wasn't getting the jobs, but I also wasn't trying too hard. By the time I've already spent time in Chile, South Africa, lived in Italy, and you still don't want to hire me? Now I know there's a problem. So I would say later on, at the time when I was...
Yeah, what more do you want?
Yeah, I passed exams. I don't know what else I could do. So the answer is yes, but I think I didn't reflect on, that's an issue until I've already done and already spent money on all these trips, I guess.
Fair
I'm
enough.
trying to say.
We got to wrap up soon.
Yes.
You and I could talk about any one chapter for 2 hours, but I want to get into some other thing. Has the book changed you? I mean, are you a different person after writing the book? I know maybe you're more informed, you're more worldly, you're more diverse, but any other way, or those are...
I think I feel blessed. I think writing the book allowed me to realize, this... I lived a life. Some people...
I think that's a good point.
People have...
The fact that you wrote a book and it's done and it's hard,
I think people are going through these stories, obviously, side by side. And then now when I'm being interviewed, with folks who are, jogging the memories of those different experiences, I mean, to be honest, they probably think I'm, 60 years old. Because they're like, who did all this life already? So when I'm being asked questions, that people are usually more wowed and amazed that I've had such a life and still so young. They look at it as what, you have a whole lot more life to live prayerfully. So it's something that I take from that gratitude.
I don't think highly of those people. Those thoughts never went through my mind.
I see.
I don't think about age, color, whatever. It's the person. You've, like I said, we could sit here and talk for hours. You're pretty eloquent in talking about how and why you wanted to do this and what you did and, how wide the net is and all of that. So
today I think it
don't
changed.
be so, it's well earned.
No, not I take that. I mean, there is something to say. I feel they always say, after every win, do you sit back and celebrate those kind of moments? I feel like the book has allowed me now, going over these questions with different interviewers, allowed me to now relive, wow, I did survive that. Because I didn't think I was going to make it.
Kind of jogs it up again, which is pretty cool.
So that's the part where I take back that. And then today, after especially teaching on a university level, I'm super, I want to continue to be connected to young wine drinkers. I realize that. I want to teach more in that space. And the book is allowing me to mentally put together what that class can, what that type of, it may not be part of somebody's certification somewhere, but you'd
be surprised. People who want to get certified read everything.
Yeah.
Because everything has, merit and information.
I'll be down to
so
teach.
People will look at this way more and deeper than,
Super excited in my future.
Yeah, because this perspective is different than, like we said, most wine books. To me, it seems obvious that you could write either volume 2 or the updated version. Like Jancis Robinson has the 8th, 9th edition of the Atlas or what. This seems like you haven't been everywhere. You'll continue to go. Correct. Probably there's stuff going on now that I wish I would have said that already.
Yeah.
So what's your mindset moving forward? I mean, you I wouldn't call it a franchise, but you got this book that could only benefit from, expanding on it. Is that in your sights?
From your mouth to God's ears. That's exactly what I would love to happen. Is that the next? I already got called out. Somebody's like, "Where's Peru? And where's this?" there's tons of places that they told me.
Peru has become a food capital and a good wine.
The book up. You got. You can't.
So that answer says it all. More importantly, your desires are one thing, but the fact that there's still a lot of material out there.
Yes.
That fits your story.
Correct.
You're not.
I didn't check every box with this, and I didn't try to.
All right, we got to wrap up. I want to get some info from you, but let me do a quick wrap up and then we'll tell everyone where they can get stuff.
Awesome.
So thank you to everyone for listening. If you'd like to contact the Grape Nation or the Wine List, we are at samatthegrapenation.com. That's Sam at the Grape Nation. The Wine List is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you get your pods. Please subscribe if you like the podcast. Leave a review if you really like it. Follow us on Instagram at SBenRuby, on X at BenRuby, and on Facebook we're at The Grape Nation. As I mentioned, I'll post Cha's wine list picks on our social media sites. There's a lot of stuff in there. So I got to sort through it, and as always, I will post them. So tell me about your book tour. It's starting like next week, I think, early November. The book just came out, everybody.
November 4th.
So let's talk about the book tour and then tell me where and how the best way to get the book. Certainly if you go to the book tour, you'll have books.
Yes.
So tell me where you're going.
Yeah. So book release date for us New Yorkers, Election Day, November 4th. On the 5th, we will be at Gladys Wine Bar / Bookstore in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn on November 5th. The next day, I fly out to San Diego, part of the Food and Wine Festival there. So I'll be signing books and I'll be hosting the James Beard tasting.
Nice.
So I'll be signing books.
Wait, you know this stuff by heart? You have no notes in front of you.
I have no notes in
All
front of me.
right, keep going.
This is where my brain is at right
Keep
now.
going.
So I'll be there. I'll do a master class on Georgian wine, which is a section in the book as well. So super excited to be working with them to educate folks about Georgian wine. And then I head to DC on November 11th. I will be at Bold Fork Bookstore, have some wines that we'll be pouring there as well, signing books, doing the whole thing. We'll have a special guest moderating as well there. And from there, we're doing a dinner for Manifests. That is a members only club. So you're gonna they run a tight ship in DC, and we're doing something at Providencia. There is a recipe from Chef Paulo.
Where is that?
In DC as well.
DC.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we're doing a pop up together when I'm there. So that's the 11th, the 12th, and the 13th.
Oh, you're there a few days.
Yes. And then on the 15th, I'm going to be driving down to good old Virginia wine country to Charlottesville. So I'll be there for the
Good stuff down there.
Down Wine Fest.
Who's the queen of Virginia wines?
Lee Campbell.
What?
Lee Campbell.
Lee Campbell. She's committed herself to that for years.
Yeah. So I'll be there pouring wines for Early Mountain. Good stuff there. If you haven't had Dravadal, you must. And talking about doing book signings there, part of the festival. The following week, I will be in Boston starting the 20th, and I'll be doing a tasting at the bookshop called Just Bookish, and followed by where I'm at, Comfort Kitchen, doing the Chameleon Wine Dinner there.
Oh, nice.
Amazing restaurant. They actually very much focus onto our land and food history, Asia and Africa.
That sounds like a description of the book.
All of it.
Right.
And then I'll have the great honor of doing a book talk with Layla at the Museum of African American History on Saturday in Boston, followed by flying to Charlotte on the Monday. And then I'll be doing a class at Frenchie's in Charlotte, North Carolina. And TBD if anything else pops up in those cities. And then I'll be wrapping it up back home on December 4th. In Harlem at the Africa Center, and confirmed
Where is the Africa Center?
Oh, 110th and 5th Avenue.
Okay.
And confirmed.
What are you doing there?
A book talk.
Okay.
And confirmed with myself, Layla. Our moderator is going to be Steven Satterfield, the host of High on the Hog.
Who also wrote your
forward.
That sounds like a pretty damn good event. They all sound good.
Yeah.
That sounds special.
Yeah.
Where it is, who's there, that it's a talk.
It's going to be about.
So to that point, looking backwards, if people said, holy crap, how does she know all this by heart? I better go on a website or where do I get info?
Yes, and I'm praying it all can be up by today.
What's the best place?
My website or Instagram. So Cha McCoy, ChaMcCoy.com. So I'll put
Is Cha McCoy Instagram?
Cha McCoy is my website. Instagram is Cha CHA _squared.
Cha
That's
squared. I forgot.
Quared.
Right. That's important. So it's cha_squared. And then Cha McCoy is the website.
Yeah. And Cha McCoy on LinkedIn, if you're a LinkedIn.
I like LinkedIn. For this book, I think it's a good spot for you. Where do you want people to get the book from?
So please support all of the small
Come
booksellers.
if you want the book. Come to these things.
Yeah, or even order
go to
online.
your
their links. All of their links for their stores is on my website.
Don't just go online to the big guy. These guys have.
So it's available on Barnes and Nobles and Amazon and all that. But please support the small bookstores that are supporting me during the tour. So all direct links to their shops is on my website as well.
I'm glad you brought that up because it's so obvious, but I don't think of it. Your local bookseller should be supported. Go out, buy books, roam around, go see Cha Talk. But if you need something, go to their website.
Yeah.
That's it.
They ship it to you just like Amazon
That's
would.
it. There's no magic to, what Amazon just does. All right, Cha, I got to let you go. So I want to thank our guest, Cha McCoy, for talking about her new book. It's available
November 4th,
which is next week. So we got you at the right time. I want to thank our engineer, Armin. I want to thank Willie Soul for our original theme music and everyone at the Heritage Radio Network. I'm Sam Ben Ruby, and you just got this week's wine list. Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. Keep in touch at heritageradionetwork.org/subscribe.